On the Wado Radio Show.
Of course, it's DJ Wado. It's the Wado Radio Show. It's more than music. It's ministry, man. And we got the CEO, president of Lampmode Recordings, and he's also a heck of an artist, man. JSon's on the line with us. Jay, what up, homie?
Yes, sir. What up with it, homie? You know what it is, man. I feel at home when I'm here with you, man. Able to get it in with y'all.
Definitely, man. We done did so many of these. It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, man. I know, bro. It is crazy.
Yeah, man. So, it's been a lot of stuff going on that I want to talk to you about. Obviously, you got your new album, No Filters, coming out in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And of course, man, you being from St. Louis, we had all the stuff that happened in Ferguson.
Yeah.
You know, over the past 6 to 9 months, man. And so, it's just a lot of stuff. And then obviously the label, man. You know what I'm saying? Just what's going on with Lampmode, bro.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Got a lot to get into.
A lot of stuff to get into, man. Let's start with No Filter, man. I was telling you, man, before we went on the air that when I heard about the concept, a mutual friend had told me about the concept and was really bigging it up. And I started seeing it in, my everyday life, man, and just seeing how necessary it is for somebody to kind of touch on this topic, man. But for people that, haven't had a chance to really, digest that whole No Filter, man, just break that down in terms of, what you're really getting at and what you're hoping people get out of it.
Absolutely. So obviously the title, it's No Filter. Album drops March the 10th. The title kind of came from the Instagram hashtag No Filter, which typically means you posting a picture that doesn't have a filter or any type of effect or anything on it. So, this was kind of a joint that was birthed out of my own personal wrestle with identity. And, the way that I would wrestle with whether that was wearing a mask or a filter or whatever you want to call it. And for me, even growing up, man, it was times where I kind of wished I was somebody else. You know what I mean? Or looked in the mirror, wasn't comfortable with what I saw, wasn't comfortable with who I was. The most amazing thing about it is that I've always been extroverted as a person. So, and I have a really strong personality. So you might not even know that that's one of my wrestles if you're around me. Because I'm not a quiet dude who sits off in the corner. You know what I mean? But that's always been a wrestle for me. So after looking at media and, shows like Botched, which is a show where they do all this messed up plastic surgery and, all these different Photoshop pictures and airbrush pictures you see in magazines. And I just was like, man, identity is an issue that's at its all-time high right now. You know what I mean? So I wanted to be able to talk about that and discuss that. Now, the concept of the album and the intent of the album wasn't to necessarily just sit and try to completely unpack identity, or so you won't come to the album and get that. I wanted to take a different approach and kind of just talk about it through the lens of the difficulties that we wrestle through. So it's kind of dealt with in 3 different ways. Number one, obviously I talk about my personal wrestle, and I challenge others who may have that wrestle as well. So that's one of the main things that I do. I talk about it. Number 2 is I kind of give snapshots of my life, all to say that what we go through and what we experience shapes and helps to make who we are. And then number 3, the idea is to be able to make statements about us as believers, who we are as people. You know what I mean? So it may not necessarily try to unpack identity, but it'll make identity statements for us as Christians, just to basically say who we are and what our identity is should be found in Christ and Christ alone. So that's pretty much the overarching idea of the project.
Yeah. Why do you think people struggle with identity so much? Why do you think that wrestle is there, man?
Well, man, I think identity has been an issue since the fall. I mean, I think, Satan told Adam and Eve, if you eat this fruit, you will be like God. So he was presenting a different identity to them. He was telling them to be somebody other than who God had already told them they were and who they would be. You know what I mean? So I think that's an issue that's always existed. I think now, with media, stuff like that, we're looking at people who are almost fake, unreal. You know what I mean? And we're striving to meet a standard that's not even a real standard. So we look at quote unquote Kim Kardashian, you know, with a fake booty, a bunch of makeup on their face. Like, you like, man, I want to be like that. And then I want to look like that. And then you realize, like, hold up, like, dang, she don't even really look like that. You know what I mean? Like, I started kind of just taking I would look at these photos of celebrities with makeup on and makeup off, and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't even be attracted to you, like, if I saw you without all of this stuff on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that ad with Justin Bieber, the underwear ad. But basically, man, they showed the before Photoshop and after Photoshop picture. Man, they got him looking buff, looking all cut up. I mean, it's not real. You know what I'm saying? Then you look at social media, and the thing about social media is you can paint a picture of your life. Some people post the most amazing pictures. You go in their life, and you like, dawg, your life jacked up. Your picture's beautiful, but your life is horrible. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
You know, yeah, man.
That's good. What do you think are some of the differences that men and women struggle with identity? Because I know with women, it's always like the beauty thing. Like, you know, you mentioned Kim Kardashian and, you know, comparing yourself to, you know, these unrealistic, you know, kind of portrayals of what beauty really is. What about for guys, man?
Well, I would say, first off, I think that is an issue for guys as well. It's not one that we as dudes talk about, but dudes wrestle with looking in the mirror and, you know, being like, man, like, I don't know if I look as good as little buddy over there. You know, if you're a dude who, you know, maybe your physique, you got a gut, you ain't feeling too good about that. You know what I mean? If you balding, you know what I'm saying? Like, that could be a large source of insecurity. So I think some of those things that men wrestle with as well, they just don't talk about them the same way as women because, you know, for women it may be a deeper issue. I think also the issue is, you know, being confidence and being okay with, you know, approval. I think men, you know, and women. So I think a lot of these wrestlers are equal. You know, men wrestle with approval. They want people to like them. They want to be respected. You know what I'm saying? That's a big issue for men. Like, we want to be respected, and sometimes respect for us looks like being approved by others. You know what I'm saying? I think that even spills over into the rap culture. You know what I mean? Like, we scream to be respected as a rapper. You know what I mean? And even some of that comes from our own insecurities. We need somebody to approve for us that we're good. You know what I'm saying? So I think some of those are the issues. I think, you know, when you bring fatherlessness into the picture, you know, dudes just wrestle with being okay, just being a man. What does it look like to be a man? You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of these wrestles, they run really, really deep, man. And for dudes and for women, you know, these are things that we kind of, you know, wrestle with being valued. When you don't have a father in your life, like, you know, you want to find other ways to be valued. That's why men could use women like trophies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a game, and you kind of feel like, you know, you feel valuable if you could take advantage of somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Makes you feel good about yourself. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's amazing, man, how deep some of these wrestles go. You know, in one of the records I say, man's approval will build you, but man's approval can break you. And man's approval might kill you if man's approval can make you. You know what I'm saying? And just the idea of we live in a world where flattery, you know, flattery is a sin. But we live in a world where flattery, like, dudes just see you like, yeah, man, you know, but they don't really mean what they saying. You know what I mean? And you start, yeah, they just saying it because you there in their face. You know what I'm
they
saying?
They just gassing you. Yeah.
But they just gassing you, bro. But when you ain't around, they don't even say that, and they feeding your veins, and you start looking for that, and you feel like you need that. You know what I mean? You start just, you get that one dude who just walk around and hope somebody say something about what he got going on, like because he want to be gassed. He wants somebody to fill his gas tank up. You know what I'm saying? So it's a wrestle for us all, man. Real talk.
It's good. That's good, bro. Your identity as an artist, man, like you've definitely evolved from, since the seasoning and Life on Life, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like to kind of the space you are now. Like, did you wrestle with your identity as an artist at some point?
Well, I think to some degree, yes. So, for those who know me, know my story, and they know my background, they know where I come from. Sometimes I used to feel like, dang, man, why ain't all my music directed towards the hood? Like, because them the dudes I got a burden for. That's my environment. You know what I mean? And I used to be like that, but that stuff just don't always come out of me like that. You know what I'm saying? That's always been a thing for me. Even when I would try, like it wouldn't come out. It just wouldn't pour out of me. So, I just had to accept, like, yo, I don't have to, just because I'm from the hood, like, I don't got to make trap music, you know what I mean, all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, just being comfortable with saying, yo, like, this is just, and I've always had a burden for the church as well. So just falling into a space where I'm like, I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. That doesn't mean that I'm a, make pop music and CCM music. So my last couple of records, with Growing Pains kind of came from a personal space. And even the sound on that particular record, I really wanted emotional music. Well, it was really hard to find those records or producers who could produce those records consistently that weren't CCM-ish. So the stuff that I was getting that was emotional had a CCM-ish / pop-ish kind of feel to it. So I took that stuff because that was the space I was in, and that was what I was really, really feeling. And that's actually one of my favorite records, Then you fast forward to a Braille record. Braille was one of those records, man, where I've learned this as an artist, and that is, you don't make music with a formula, dog. You have to make what you feeling. You know what I'm saying? So Braille was one of those records where, you kind of think, okay, I need this kind of record. I did this type of stuff on Growing Pains. I almost tried to, in some ways, recreate a Growing Pains album. And you can't do that because Growing Pains was such a personal place that I couldn't recreate. And I think it's some really good records on Braille. You know what I'm saying? I think it's some really, really good songs. But as an album, I felt like I could have done definitely better. So you fast forward to this record, I think I kind of got comfortable in my own skin and was like, I don't have to recreate Growing Pains, because Growing Pains was such a successful album for me too, that sometimes you want that same success with a project. But with this album, I just settled into my own skin and was like, all right, that don't work. And I always told myself the best music I make is when I make music that kind of comes from life and from a real place for me. So
that's good, man.
So yeah, man, that's definitely been a wrestle for me. And I'm not a swag rapper, you know what I mean? So I'm not one of them dudes who, currently, when you look out into mainstream music, swag is what primarily drives music today. You know what I mean? And when I say swag, I'm talking about the way you approach rapping on a record. And I think we all need to have different deliveries. But I've always come from an emotional feeling, real talk kind of thing, you know what I mean? And bars, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to stick to my guns this record and be comfortable in that.
That's good, bro. You know, one of the things that I always see consistently on your albums is you always have people on there that we don't expect you to collab with.
Yeah.
Right? I felt like on this album, you had multiple people that I was like, I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
Keno Camp, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Monty G, definitely.
Yeah.
And even K Drama's wife Sade.
Sade, Hillary Jane.
Yeah. Hillary Jane. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, do you consciously do that? Like, do you consciously say, you know what, man, I want to get some people on here people won't expect. I want to give some people some opportunities. I want to shake things up a bit.
Actually, yes, man. Like, if you track back all of my records, it's always been a song with somebody that people may not be fully aware of. And that is intentional on my part. I mean, obviously, as long as they can pull that off. And the record is dope. But yeah, that's always been my goal. Like, man, I remember, I never forget the first record that I got put on with Flame and Thizzle. And what that did, how that made me feel, you know what I mean? And, I want to provide that opportunity for others as well. Man. So, working with dudes and seeing dudes who, with a Keno camp, I kicked it with them dudes, for when we did a show in Las Vegas. And, man, they were just real humble cats, man. Like, and that record it was one of them records that came last minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, that record, I was in Sacramento pretty much done with the album. And Spec was like, man, I got a banger, bro, but I don't want to play it for you because I think you're going to want it. And he played the record and the hook was already on it. I was like, bro, let me get that record. And as soon as he gave me the record, the first people I thought about was Keno Camp, because I'm like, this y'all sound. You know what I mean? Like, and if you want it to be authentic. So yes, to answer your question, yeah, man, that's always been a goal of mine, to try to work with people who, or at least have a record with, and give other dudes opportunities to really get a chance to shine on a record.
Sure. Now you've been living in Iowa for what, the last 4 years? 5 years?
5 years, man.
5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been out there like the last 5 years, and obviously, man, like everything that's been happening, since August with the whole Mike Brown situation has affected your city big time, man. What was that like, kind of seeing all that happening in your hometown, and obviously you now living away from the city, so you even just kind of having a different view of it than being on the ground, like obviously being familiar with the landscape, the political structure, the people on the ground, but then also kind of being a few hours away and still kind of watching all this unfold, man.
Yeah, man, like it was very emotional, bro. It was really heartbreaking, for the world who was just watching. It was just something they were seeing, obviously, but it was heartbreaking. Like, I literally lived probably 7 minutes from where everything actually happened. So,
wow.
So right before we moved here, that's where the home we owned was at. So, and that's a popular strip, West Florissant. Even when they were calling it, a suburb, and, just the way it was viewed and all of that, I was like, man, like, people just don't even know, who are not from here, what this really is. It did used to be a suburb, but I wouldn't even consider it a suburb at all. Like, that mug is like St. Louis City now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, just seeing it, man, it was really heartbreaking. I did go back to the city, not in the middle of everything, but I forget what I had to go back for, but I had to go back for something. And I remember just riding through, man, and it was really, I mean, it make you cry, bro. Like, you just like, man, just seeing all the devastation, man, and, that was a street I rode down every single day. You know what I'm saying? So it was really, really hard, man. It made me wish I was home. I was like, man, I want to be home. I want to be in the middle of this. I want to be out there. I want to be involved. I want to be, so it was really difficult, man. I would definitely say that. Seeing it on TV was just like, it was times when me and my wife, like, I station didn't leave. We didn't watch nothing else during that time. So yeah, man, it was definitely difficult.
How do you think the city and the community need to go about rebuilding?
I think, man, well, it's funny because historically when these type of things happen in these type of environments, that's close to the end of that area. You know, historically, wherever riots have taken place at, the place where the riot took place never recovers. You know what I'm saying? You see that in LA. You see that in even East St. Louis. You know, historically back in the day there were riots there, and that mug has become desolate because what happens is the business owners don't want to take a chance in revisiting those situations. You know what I mean? So first off, it's scary, and it's going to be really, really difficult to rebuild. And not difficult just because you need money to rebuild, but difficult because you need people that are comfortable with being there after it's rebuilt. So typically, businesses take their money and they run. But I think in order to rebuild, I think, man, first you just need strong leadership. What most people don't know or even realize about Ferguson is when I was growing up and I was young, man, we ain't even drive out there. I had an auntie that lived out that way, and it felt like when I was like, 10 years old, it felt like you was going out of town driving to Ferguson. It really ain't that far, honestly. But when you young and you got a 15-minute drive, you know what I mean? Like, and especially if you from the hood and everything 5 minutes away, you drive 15, 20 minutes out and you feel like you going far. Black people ain't even really drive out there. You know what I mean? Well, that's not the case anymore. So Ferguson is pretty much all African American now. That's happened over the last, man, I'm probably 10 to 15 years. You know what I mean? So now you go to Ferguson, you go to that area, it's black. You know what I'm saying? It's not a suburb anymore necessarily. So all of the people from the hood now live out in that area. So, where we stayed at, like I said, was 7 minutes away. Like, it was dudes shooting choppers 1 block over. Like, it wasn't like, this mug was still grimy. So I think you need leaders to rebuild, man. Like, you need people that are a face of the community, that love the community, that know the community. And, I don't have all the answers, of course. It's also difficult, man, when you have the police force being Caucasian isn't the police force's fault. Because, like I said, at one point, it was a completely Caucasian community. So the police force did reflect the community at one point. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, as people begin to move in and move out, the police force ain't going to change. Like, they ain't going to be like, all right, man, I'm finna quit my job because now it's all black people out here. So you have a police force that reflected what the community used to look like and not what the community currently looks like. Obviously, that creates all types of tension, all types of problems. But I do wish, and I don't even know how this would happen or take place. I do wish, man, I think it's important for police officers to represent the community that they're serving. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways. When you consider that, I think they had 2, maybe 3 officers that were African American on that force. And you're serving pretty much an all African American community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's tough.
Now, you'll never see that in any other case. You'll never see, maybe an all-white community where it's all African American police officers. You know what I'm saying? So typically you want people, you want that force to represent that area. And ultimately, man, like the gospel is the answer. Like, these problems shouldn't surprise us. Whether it's racism, whether it's injustice, whether it's a young black male doing something he shouldn't be doing, these things they shouldn't surprise us. At the core, the issue is sin. You know what I mean? So we need men and women who are willing to be compelled to share the gospel. You know what I mean? To communicate truth. And at the core, that's what's desperately needed.
Yeah, how did you feel about just the churches, and particularly in the local church in St. Louis, like their response to it? Because like I've heard kind of different theories from people, and I'm just curious your thoughts, bro.
So I think, man, the church responded as well as they possibly could. So one of the things that I'm reminded of is it's easy to say, man, somebody should be doing this, or somebody should be doing that, or somebody should be doing this, or somebody should be doing that. And sometimes the things that are silently done, you don't respect as much. Like, so cats would feel different if you had 100 churches or 1,000,000 churches on TV talking, but that don't necessarily mean nobody's doing anything. You know what I'm saying? So I think there were churches that were heavily involved. You know what I mean? Shout out to my brother in them church, The Gate. The Gate isn't located in Ferguson. So they wanted to find other ways to support, because there are other churches in that area. So rather than just try to pick up and act like they from their community and they have relationships in their community, they just saw fit to behind the scenes to support other churches that were already there, that were already doing work. So, I'm one of the dudes the church is God's baby, yo. And I'm very careful with how I talk about the church, and that doesn't mean there aren't any flaws and there aren't things that could have been done better. But I think a lot of churches, man, they were out there, they were doing things, they were involved. But when you have something like that that's so massive, dog, that you got to understand that that's a difficult situation to be in. For any church, for any person, for any pastor. You know what I mean? So I think they responded the best way that they knew how. And I think believe it or not, it was a lot of churches, man, that were trying to give presents and trying to be available, and things of that nature. And there were also probably churches that dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying? That weren't available, or that weren't. And then too, you got to understand that some churches have different things that drive them as a church. So, and what I mean by that is, you may have a church that's, man, just financially in a really, really good place. You know what I'm saying? And they may not necessarily have people to put on the ground, but they have money to fund to help, dump into other churches that do have people to put on the ground. They're equally needed. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the people on the ground may not have the money to keep people on the ground. You know what I'm saying? So I think all of those pieces, that's the most amazing thing about the body. All of those pieces are valuable. So I don't look at somebody who out there every day and say you're more valuable than the person who's funding things is able to happen for people that's on the ground. I think they're equally important. And that's gospel to me. That's gospel as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, man. So while there were some things that I feel like we probably could have done that would have been dope. When things are happening and it's going on, you think you got all the answers when you looking at a TV screen, or when it normally is the dude. See, this is what normally happens, and this will be the last thing I say about this. You get the person who's out there while it's going on, and all they doing is pointing the finger at the people who are not out there. And you may be on the ground doing something, but it may not even necessarily be, you're there, but there's no strategy. There's no, you know what I mean? It doesn't have any strategicness to it.
Yeah.
And that could be you're present, but it could not have no real impact, and value. Then you can have the person that's on the ground that does have strategy and is killing it and does have things that they're doing, and everything has follow-up plan, and and that's valuable. Then you have the person that's not involved at all. You know what I'm saying? That's not on the ground, but they're looking in. Then you have the person that's not on the ground, but they have financial support. And and what they do is, you may have one group that says, dog, we gonna dump money into those that are in this area. They know the community, they're from the community, we want them to serve their community, and we want to financially be able to support them to do that. You know what I mean? And that's valuable. Then you have a church that says, well, man, we don't really know what to do, we just gonna you know, give money to funds we don't know nothing about because we don't have, and that's not as valuable. So I'm just saying all that to say there's no cookie cutter way, man. And just praying that all of those efforts combined make a lasting impact.
That's good, man. That's really good, bro. What did you think about? I know there was like a lot of conversations that, you know, some were public, you know, some stuff was probably more private. But what I thought was dope was that Christians of all races and even all theological kind of backgrounds were almost forced to have conversations about this, whether it was on a Sunday or whether it was on a live stream or anything about that. And there was several of those, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to single anyone out, but, you know, I just wanted your thoughts if you had caught any of that and, you know, man, just how you felt about just, you know, people even being able to discuss it like that.
Yeah, I thought the discussion was dope. It was definitely heartbreaking, man. It shows you how much racism still exists on both sides.
Yep.
Because even as an African American man, like I would say things and cats would say I'm race baiting. I'd be like, wow, how am I? Yeah. If you know me, you know that definitely ain't my cloth. So you would almost feel like, dag, like if I say something, you know, some of my Caucasian brothers would feel like I shouldn't be saying nothing, or, you know, oh, you don't know the gospel, or you just, and it would be like, dag, you know what I mean? Then on the flip side, you would have some African American brothers who just made it just turned into black power. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
they were race baiting.
They actually were race baiting. Yeah, it was like, man, this ain't even cool. You know what I'm saying? And then you had your Caucasian brothers who some were, you know, completely against it. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, he shouldn't have been there. This ain't a black and white issue. And you know, you would be like, man, if you don't see that this is a black and white issue, I'm not talking about him being shot. I'm talking about the entire context. It makes it a black and white issue. You know what I mean? And we can't overlook that just because we wish it wasn't that. You know what I'm saying? Then you had your Caucasian brothers who were dope, who were, you know, gave good feedback and, you know, were listening and were ears. And then you had your other Caucasian brothers who were race baiting as if they were black. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it just wasn't really. Some of the conversations were needed. I wish more would have happened with it. You know, would have happened with it. I was one of the dudes that probably took a different perspective. So I don't know what happened in the situation. I never said that Mike Brown was in the right. I never said that the officer was completely in the wrong. You know what I mean? But I did think that there were some ways on both ends that things probably could have been handled differently. And that was the conclusion I came to. Like, I'm not God. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But when I look at Mike Brown, I'm like, man, you could have avoided all of this, you know what I mean, by a couple of steps. You know what I mean? When I look at the officer, you could have avoided all of this, you know what I mean, in a couple of ways as well. So it was frustrating because it was one of those situations where you could say anybody was wrong almost, in my opinion. So it was really one of those difficult things. But the conversation was good. I just pray that it doesn't stop. The conversation doesn't stop. You know what I'm saying? And it needs to be. This is what I've generally learned as a husband. When there's tension between me and my wife, you want to have those conversations even when the tension is there. But I've also found that when there's no tension there, you still want to be having those conversations because normally the conversation is a lot more valuable and a lot more, it's a better conversation when there is no tension and y'all still talking about the problems. You see what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that we can still have those conversations without the tension across the board.
Yeah, I think, man, I was with Derek Miner the other day. This was about 10 days ago. And he showed me this video. We was in the studio and he showed me this video. And it was another police brutality situation. But it was weird because it was, I think the officers were white, but the guy that gunned down was white as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his hands up and the whole 9 yards. And I was upset, bro. Like, I was hot. Like, you know, I was so mad. Like, dudes wanted to change the subject. Like, they, you know.
Right.
And, man, I just wanted to get your thoughts, like, because I'm like, a part of me feels like, excuse me, this isn't even, I think the media has made it too much into a black-white issue. And I think it's really just it's a human rights issue in terms of how the police are policing and approaching these different situations, man. And I just would love your thoughts, man, because I mean, obviously there's a host of other, you know, John Crawford, you know, Tamir Rice, you know, just, I mean, there's a ton of other names that you can add to this, you know, going back to Sean Bell, Amadou Diallo, like all these different people. And so, man, just your thoughts in general on that, man, just like the police and race and all that.
So first I want to say, man, that police officers have a really difficult job, bro.
Yes.
Like, they have a really, really difficult job, man. And, you know, I know in my city particularly, man, I know of times where dudes then ran up on police cars and murdered police officers. Like, you know, or police, you know, it's a really difficult job. So I want to start by saying, you know, just making it clear that all police officers are not bad and we desperately need them. You know what I mean? They put their lives on the line. They end up in dangerous situations for the sake of protecting others. And that's to be valued, heralded. It's an authority that we should submit to. You know what I mean? And it won't always be as just as we would like it. You know, but just even thinking about that reality, man, I couldn't imagine, you know, being in a situation where, you know, a little young. I'm just thinking about myself as a person, right? I currently don't own a pistol, but if I got a pistol on me, and some young dude, white, black, purple, green, it don't matter what color you are, straight get the whooping me, and I got a pistol on me, I want to believe in my heart that I wouldn't kill him. But I'm like, if I got a pistol, I'm almost 100% sure I'm going to shoot him. You know what I'm saying? Or if it's somebody that I see could possibly be dangerous, or they not complying, you know what I mean? So I just want to say that that's a really difficult situation to be in. However, with that being said, it's sad to see the way police officers are policing in some instances. You know what I mean? Like, and it's also, it's difficult because you see other officers who maybe they're more trained, or maybe they see things differently, but they don't always police in that exact same way. So I saw one situation where, and I posted this on my Facebook page during this time, but it was a white dude, and he was in a park, and he had a gun out, and he was pointing that mug at everybody. He hadn't shot it, but he was pointing that mug all around. And it's all police out there. He pointed at the police. The gun is loaded, bro. You know what I mean? Wow. But they didn't kill him.
Did they kill him?
No, they ain't kill him. Wow. So I was like, man, you know, so that lets me know. Now I don't want to look at that and say, oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, but I am saying that we do know that there are some officers that want to take, you know, whatever measures not to kill a person. You know what I'm saying? I do know that I saw one instance where a police officer was about to arrest a dude, and the dude was walking away. And when the dude turned around, the police officer shot him and killed him. And everybody was like, man, what did he do that for? Well, they showed the video in slow motion. And when the little dude was turning around, he was actually pulling a gun from out of his coat. But you couldn't see it. You couldn't see it at first, you know, when it was in regular speed. So the officer was actually, he saw the pistol, and that's why killed him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying there's so many different instances that we not aware of when we in that situation. You know what I mean? That but we're seeing so much more of officers killing people where you like, dag man, like is there some other approach? I do like the idea of, I think it would be dope if every officer had a camera on their shirt. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Built in their badge, or, you know, something like that, that was always on, that stayed on. You know what I mean? Like, that would be super dope. You know, stuff like that would be good. But it's definitely hard to see, man. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's tough, man. You know what we need, Jay?
What's that?
We need a Lampmode chopping block talking about.
You know what? We might have to do that, man. We definitely might have to do that.
Block, man.
We definitely might have to do that, bro.
Like, I would love to hear Charlene's thoughts on this, Timothy Brindle's thoughts, Hakeem, Esso.
Yeah, we might have to pull that off, bro.
I'm just saying, man. But speaking of the label, man, how things at Lampmode these days, man?
Things are going well, man. You know, it's been over a year that I took the position as president of the label, and
man, it feels like it's been longer than that.
Nah, man, it's been a little over a year. Well, it's been a year, and because I started in October, so October to October, so what, a year and a half? October, November, December, January, February, yeah, so a year and a half. So yeah, man, still
but
trying to.
This is your first album as president.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
This is my first album as president. This is also the first album that, as president, that I had full hand in, and there wasn't already balls rolling with the projects before I, became president. So all the previous records that have dropped, those albums were already in motion before I became president. So
wow, okay.
Yeah, so all of those things were things that were going to get rolled out and were going to happen. I stepped in and, had some little things to add and say and do with those things. But all of those projects were in motion. So from here forward, every record is literally, me from top to bottom. Not just me, the team from top to bottom. So it's been good, man. It's really difficult for a lot of dudes want to start a label, and it's really hard when you really care and want to see your artists do well. And and that's one of the things that, I think I would hope that dudes on the label would echo that, I'm behind all the artists, man. Like, I want to see dudes do well. And, we got some things in the pipeline, man, that people will feel. And it's been dope too. Like, people have been hitting me up like, man, I'm seeing some of the dope stuff that y'all are doing, and some of the just the rollout plans for projects, and trying to do stuff and step stuff up with what we do. Obviously, I got Charlene to shoot his first video.
Yeah, that's huge.
So, yeah, man. So we do wanna we got some things in the pipeline that I can't say right now, but we got some things in the pipeline that are going to be really dope. If you know anything about running a business, or, starting anything musically or anything for that matter, it just takes time for the transition to actually happen. So to people watching, they like, man, a year and a half, like, we want to see, maybe they want to see more. But first it takes time you got to build trust with the people that you're working for and with. And then 2, you have to begin to restructure and give direction to what's going to be happening. And then you have to implement all those things individually. And that takes time. You know what I mean? So, it's been a year and a half, and we're hoping that over the next 2 years, I think, people will really feel some of the things that we're doing behind the scenes and we got going on. You know what I mean? So we're praying too that with my album rollout, we want every record to feel as good or better as my album rollout. That's kind of our goal. You know what I'm saying? So So yeah, man, it's shout out to everybody. We got Eso. He's already in the lab working on. Actually, he's pretty much done with his record. So we're already gearing up.
He was on Twitter talking about putting a mixtape out after the album, man.
Yeah, he's already in gear, man. Shout out to my dude. That's my dude, man. Like, so he's been grinding. His album is sounding freaking amazing, by the way. So he'll be right down the pipeline after me. Shout out to Timothy Brindle. He's working on his project. He'll be dropping shortly after Eso. And then Shaolin will be coming back around. So we got everybody. I'm trying to get dudes to kick up the gears. It ain't gonna be no more waiting 4 years for albums to drop. You know what I mean? So you'll be getting consistent content from us, and we're also working on some other things, man. I can't let it go, but by this summer we'll be making another announcement, man. So yeah,
that's what's up. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about Shy, man, because I know he's in the process of planting a church in Philly, right?
Yeah.
And just knowing, the time commitment that takes, and was just wondering, man, like what that's gonna look like for him musically.
Yeah,
to plant, pastor, and then keep doing what he musically.
Well, Shy's main heart is definitely going to be pastoring. I know he at least has another album or two in him.
Yep.
You might be getting ready to hear a mixtape from Shaolin, but y'all ain't hear that from me. So we got it's with Shy. His last record was a worship album, and that was intentional. It was part of the concept of the trilogy. For those who've been asking, he is still going to be rapping. His last album was intentionally done that way. His next album will not be a worship album. It won't just be other people singing on it. So let me just clarify that for those who might be listening. And we're hoping that Shy is ready to go, early next year. So we got everybody working, man. Everybody, Hazakim's working. Daryl's already ready to get back in the lab. Stephen the Levite. So everybody's grinding, man, behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I want to do this publicly. Obviously, I've hit you on the text and all of that, man. But I think it was dope that you guys hired a female executive as well, to kind of be a part of the team. And just because, bro, like, if I'm 100, like, I feel like the female voice just doesn't always get heard in our scene. And that's, right. I mean, obviously, artistically, it's crystal clear, but even in the behind the scenes decision making and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty significant, just kind of also giving the image of Lampmode, what I'm saying, and all of that, man. So it's a big look, bro. Yeah,
man, definitely, man. And it's funny, man, maybe that brings me to this other piece, which is the Secrets campaign. I'm not sure if you've been able to check out the website and all of that stuff yet.
Yeah.
But, I put out a video for Secrets, which is a song about sexual abuse. And it's a part 1 and a part 2, but the video is both songs. And it was one of those records where I was just like, man, this has to be done. You know what I mean? So the crazy thing with Deanna was, and most people may not know this, but when I went to shoot the video, shout out to Creator Films, man. That's who shot the video for Secrets. But when I hit him up and we start talking, this just shows you the magnitude of sexual abuse. He was sharing with me, man, his wife had been sexually abused. You know what I'm saying? So, you're like, oh, man, boom, boom. So get on set. And Deanna plays my wife in a music video.
Yep.
And she wasn't really, really familiar with me. She had heard little things here and there. The Secret song rocked her because she had been sexually abused. She had never went to counseling or nothing like that. So all the crying you see her doing is real, authentic. She was breaking down, and it was times we had to stop the shoot. So you got my wife, you got Creator's wife, now you got Deanna. Well, the girl who played the counselor...
Did you know that going in? Did you
No,
know
I
that
didn't
going
know.
in? She had been.
No, I didn't.
Oh, so
We
this
didn't.
was like a shock. Like,
Creator didn't know that either. Nobody knew that. Like, so, yeah, so we didn't pick her because of that. He just picked her because he knew her and thought she could do it. So then
did she know the song? Did she know the song at all before?
She didn't know the song until she was asked to be in the video.
Wow.
Yeah. So then on top of that, the girl who plays the counselor in the video, we didn't even know her. She was the sister of the dude's house we were using for the shoot. And we needed a counselor. So we asked her to do it. Come to find out, she had been sexually abused as a child as well.
Damn.
Then the girl who played the counselor, her mother was there. And her mother had been sexually abused as well.
This is crazy.
So, like, I'm just saying this to say, like, it just shows you the magnitude of this issue. You know what I'm saying? Right. But that's how I met. That was my first time meeting Deanna. Was on set of the video shoot. So that after we shot it, we were like, man, let's build a website, the don'tkeepsecrets.org, to give a voice to others. And we're going to be doing other stuff with Don't Keep Secrets, man. So we're looking for other stories. We actually want to get stories from men that we could put up on the site. We want to get more interviews with people who are willing to talk about it. We want to do a bunch of different stuff. I'm hoping, if the Lord is gracious, man, I would love for at some point it to become some type of conference, right? Where, maybe we're able to, one, equip and talk with pastors about how to deal with this type of issue within the local church. Because a lot of pastors, man, this is a hard thing to wrestle with. Sometimes they don't know what to do. This ain't something you could pray out. You can't just lay hands and rub oil on somebody and it go away. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that really got to be dealt with. So, equipping pastors, leaders to discuss and talk about some of the approach to dealing with some of this stuff, and, allowing those who've experienced it to have a voice to talk about it and to give encouragement. And then B, for marriages, man, like a lot of marriages end up dissolving because of stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? So we just want to, I want to do more with it in the future, man. And I'm praying that time and all of those things allot me to be able to do it.
Man, it's good, man. Yo, Jay, man, I'm so proud of you, bro. Like, just like seeing you continue to evolve and, doing these campaigns and, running a label, man. It's amazing to watch this, bro.
Man, appreciate it, man. I really do, man. It's definitely difficult, but it's a ride, man. It's a ride.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm gonna be 100 right now, right? So I guess it was maybe like 5 years ago, man, when everybody was trying to figure out who you was going to sign with. I would have never guessed in a million years you would end up running the label, dog.
Right. Right, yo. I wouldn't have either, bro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have either. I never really had the desire to necessarily start a label per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's crazy. But it's been dope, man. And even just bringing it around, to be releasing this album, No Filter. Knowing all the work, man. Shout out to the team. Shout out to Brian Davis. Y'all know him as God's servant, who's a huge part of the team. Shout out to Deanna. Shout out to, Esso, to even Cartier. Like, just people behind the scenes that's really helped to make this stuff happen. You know what I mean? Shout out to Will, too, man. Juice, Space Cherry. He did the very first. He's
Hype Williams, man. He's Hype Williams of the game.
Yeah, he did the lead single off the album, which is called Preacher Man. We shot that video in Miami, and we shot that mug in the Poke and Bean projects. Like cats got the shooting a block over while we out there. You know what I mean? So the police cars you see in the
was real.
In the they was walking around looking for the shooter. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, while we was out there,
Hey, so did y'all have permits, or was y'all just out there?
Nah, we was just out there, man. We was just out there, bro. We was just out there, man. So shout out to him, man. He shot that video. He also shot, I got another video. We got another video we just dropped. The video is it's called Identity featuring Jay. He shot this joint as well, man. It's a powerful video. Y'all get a chance, go check it out on YouTube. It's one of those records, man. It's an emotional record. It deals with identity. I think people are really gonna appreciate it. And then we're shooting another video. It'll be dropping soon. Featuring Keno Camp. It's a song called Love to Do It. It's just a big record, man. It's a fun record. We shooting that joint. We shot it in Cali, and we're really excited about that joint as well, man.
That's what's up, man. JSon, No Filters, March 10th, brother.
March 10th, baby. March 10th. Make sure y'all go get that. In fact, you can pre-order the joint right now, iTunes, or you can pre-order the physical copies at lampmode.com.
That's what it is. Jay, appreciate you, man.
Thank you, bro.
On the way to radio show. On the way to radio. On the way to radio show. Where it's much more than music, it's ministry.